Hey there, thanks for joining me here in my little corner of the world over to you. I really appreciate you stopping by and listening or viewing. We're here also on YouTube as well and all the platforms where this gets syndicated, including Amazon Music, probably my favorite player out of all of them. I listen to a lot of my music on Amazon. It's just a really good format for me to access a lot of the favorite music that I listen to, whether I'm on those morning runs or driving into work or whatever I'm doing. Anyhow, I speak with this wonderful group of musicians. It's actually two of them from this band called the Wildwoods. They are a young couple. They are on their fourth album. This one is called Dear Meadowlark, and they are from Nebraska. I don't think I've had anybody from Nebraska on this program. Now, over 150 episodes as we get into this. Now, what, over 4 years I've been doing this. This is now February of 2025 as I'm recording this. Might be listening to this in March of 2025 whenever I release this. Anyhow, I speak with a really, really wonderful couple, and they are so talented. They can do it all, singing, guitar, violins, all the great stuff that they can play. And they have a great new album. It's out wherever you get your music. Check out the Wildwoods. You got to listen to our interview to get the exact URL, but you could look them up. They are just amazing and traveling all over the country and who knows, maybe the world very soon. But they are just incredibly gifted musicians who've come out with this just really sonic album that you will just absolutely be floored by. It's a really great story, and they're just, I can't get over how young they are. Anyway, they are really on the road to a lot of success. I really, really wish them well and take a listen. How
Uh,
you doing this morning?
Good. How are you?
Great, great. And you are all in your lovely home state of Nebraska at this moment, or are you on the road?
We are we are at home. Our bass player Andy is still in Colorado. He stayed there a couple extra days and decided not to drive because there was a huge snowstorm last night. So,
He met a girl at one of our shows, and so he stayed a few days to
yeah.
maybe don't
Oh,
air that, but
that's okay. Yeah, hey, that's great. Yeah, especially yeah, it's you got to be careful out there too. So hopefully that will end up pretty good then.
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
So yeah, you're in Nebraska. No, specifically where in Nebraska?
We're in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Lincoln. And total natives from that area?
Yep.
We sure are born
Yeah.
born and raised in here in Lincoln, Nebraska. So
I'm fascinated because I don't really meet too many from Nebraska. I met maybe one person from Omaha ages ago, so you don't really hear a whole lot much about that. So, growing up, how was it there, and how much were you exposed to culture and music? I mean, it's not really rural. I mean, Lincoln's a big city.
Yeah, I feel like people don't really know that when they think about Nebraska, they just think about like farmland and nothing. But Lincoln and Omaha are cities, and I feel like we grew up, at least Noah and I did, very musically cultured. And I would have to say that's because of our parents just putting us in music lessons and then us also always wanting to be involved in musical activities. But I will say a lot of our friends at school, because we both grew up going to private schools, they were not that into music. We didn't have a lot of like friends that were doing music like we were, and I think that's why we gravitated towards each other because
yeah,
we met when we were 14. So,
our moms were Catholic school teachers, and
Oh,
so
wow.
so we just there. Lincoln has like a bunch of these little Catholic schools that all come together to one high school. Going when you go into high school, there wasn't an orchestra at
Mhm.
these Catholic schools. Chloe would have to go to the public school for to do any kind of orchestra. And there was still band. They're just seemed to be we developed just trying to work together as best we could to learn how to play together on our own and
Yeah, and in Lincoln and places like that, I mean, and this happens all over the country. It's like the arts is not really is emphasized as it really should be. So, I mean, you had more of those practical kind of, I mean, in their minds, practical kind of careers they try to steer everybody to. Were teachers or your family trying to steer you into those so-called practical areas?
I think so for a little bit, but I will say both of our parents, especially when we got into college and we told them, like for you, it wasn't even a question. Like music was always what you were going to be doing. And I kind of like went back and forth with what I wanted to do with my life, but my parents were pushing me to do music. And they've always, both sets have always been very supportive of what we do for a living. And I mean, it's the non-conventional career path that we've chosen because we're musicians on tour most of the year, and that's kind of a weird thing, especially for people in Lincoln, Nebraska. Like, not a lot of people do that here, so I don't, it's probably weird for them to tell people that we do that. That's what their kids do, but they've always supported us in doing that.
That's great to hear that because you don't hear that about a lot, especially coming from the Midwest, the Plain States, the middle of the country. So that's fantastic that they supported you like that. So how did it all begin for your families there? Are they first generation, your parents, second? How did everybody settle in Nebraska?
My parents also lived in Nebraska. I guess I don't know yours too, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the family line here. I
Yeah.
know there were like farmers from um gosh, like Germany in the 1800s maybe, and then they moved over to Kentucky and were farmers in Kentucky. And then
Yeah, that's typical stories like that. Yeah, because obviously the agriculture, it's very stressed in that neck of the woods. So growing up though, who inspired you growing up musically? Who did you stumble upon in the local radio stations that you came across?
Why
yeah,
don't you go first? You have a cute story.
sure. I um my parents, I guess, just like kind of listened to all kinds of music, so there wasn't just one genre being played in the household. Um, my dad is a huge John Prine fan, and
Oh
so
yeah.
so
Yeah.
hearing John Prine when I was younger, I thought his songs were just so funny, and it was kind of
Yeah.
the first time I just remember like really actually like listening to the lyrics of music, because when you're a kid, you sing along with stuff, but you don't really take it in, I guess. And so I remember, just really loving those John Prine songs and just feeling really inspired to try to write my own songs. And I had been in piano lessons, but I was unfortunately a very defiant child. And so I would try to not practice anything my piano teacher would give me. And I was just kind of obsessed with just wanting to learn chord progressions and whatnot. And knowing hearing John Prine and just like hearing, oh, these chords are there's like two, three, sometimes four chords involved. And so I would start to try writing my own little songs with that. And then, you know, through John Prine, uh, discovering other folk artists like, of course, Bob Dylan and Joni Mitchell and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Um,
You went through phases though when you were younger. Like you were in a huge Beatles phase when I met you. That was like your favorite band. You also really loved Radiohead and
Oh,
Weezer. You went through a Weezer phase.
Weezer was my first favorite band, which is I know quite different from what we do, but
it is. I was just thinking that. I'm like,
yeah,
this music is just like no other, and to hear that is really fascinating. But there's always elements of stuff like that that inspire you, and you pick up from that.
totally.
Yeah, Weezer from the Beatles to Weezer and all that. But that all forms a nice base for you.
Well, and kind of in the midst of my Weezer obsession, I came home from some like Boy Scout camp over the summer. I was like maybe sixth grade, and my dad was watching Across the Universe, the movie with
Yeah.
all the Beatles music. And I remember walking in on the Hey Jude scene, and I think that was just like a turning point in my life. The song just like grabbed me,
Wow.
and
I never
it
knew
was
that
sad.
story.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
weird. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm
It's a true earworm, and I think that that's a lot of people go back to the Beatles in our modern day music. It's all points, most points lead to that. And yeah, Hey Jude, I'll never forget this. So, like somebody took the na 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 chorus and like looped it. This was when I was a kid. Beatles had broken up for a couple of years at that point, but like, yeah, really, a lot of fun. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to learn every Beatles song after that,
Yeah.
which is really, teaches you a lot about songwriting, learning other people's songs, especially the Beatles. But
Yeah, and Paul McCartney himself has visited Nebraska as well. So I hope you would have had a chance to see him. It's so fun when he brings all that stuff back up.
gosh, we have
Yeah.
not had a chance to see him yet,
We haven't.
unfortunately.
Our bass
That's
player Andy is a huge Paul McCartney fan, and he's seen him in concert a few times.
no,
But we
but we
haven't.
have yet.
That's a lot of songs he does. It's just amazing. He's still keeping it up. It's just yeah, very inspirational too to see that you too could have a career in music and go on for decades. And so it all started for you guys. You met very young, obviously. And how did all this mesh together and where you are today?
Yeah, it's kind of been a wild journey, but it doesn't really feel like it because we've always been doing music together. And when we met through mutual friends, because we didn't go to the same middle schools, and we met the summer before we went to high school. But we found out that we both live in the same neighborhood, even though we went to separate schools. And that summer, we kind of just met and figured out that we both played music and then started playing music together. And at the time, I was only playing music with my brother. That was like the only other person I knew that played music outside of like school band. So we would just learn like instrumental songs and go down to the farmers market on Saturday mornings and busk for a few hours to make some extra money. And then when we met you, you started doing that with us every Saturday morning. And from there, we started the Wildwoods, even though, and it was the three of us at the time, but we started it with a different band name and we've kind of just evolved over the years
Hmm.
and just kept it going.
How did you come up with the name The Wildwoods? What's the origin for everybody who's listening?
We kind of remember it differently. Um, I remember just couldn't drive yet. I think we were only 14 at the time, and Chloe's mom was driving us around because we were just having a terrible time coming up with a name. Because our first name that we chose was Slap Happy, which is that's a terrible, terrible. And
Yeah,
yeah, it's
maybe a song or something for another band.
I don't know why we
and
chose that. We used to
I don't
like
know.
do percussive things on our guitars. I think maybe that's why, but
Yeah, but I think I remember your mom just driving us around, and we just like were looking at signs.
yeah, to try to strike up inspiration. And I think
Yeah,
there's a Wildwood Road somewhere.
there's like a Wildwood Road, there's a Wildwood Lake, there's lots of wildwood around. Colin Malloy of the Decemberists has a book like into the wildwood, and so there were just like lots of wildwood things, I guess, that we kept seeing. That I think it just worked its way
Hmm.
into our brains. So
Hmm. And you went through school. Where did you go? Did you both go to college, or you basically went straight up into music?
we went to high school together, and then we went to college for 1 year, and then took a gap year to try to do music full time. But then, being 18, 19 years old, m- doing music full time is definitely not fun all of the time.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, it's
It's a lot of hard work.
it's fun a lot of the time, but there's a lot of non-fun work involved in it, and I think that just was a reality that we faced in kind of that gap year that we took, where we realized that it was, we just didn't, we're not at the place yet where we felt like we were putting in the work and it would pay off with it taking off, I guess. So we went back to school
Yeah, we kind of thought if we didn't go back to school, we never would. So we're like, that was a good, I mean, it was a good year for us to do some touring and just kind of like, yeah, see the reality of what it would really be like doing
Yeah,
music full time. And then we went back to school and graduated in 2021. And
yeah.
then from there, literally on graduation day, we skipped graduation week because we had a gig, but that we started touring right after that.
Yeah. And I think having that realization that we just like weren't to the place where we were ready, I guess during that gap year, the rest of the 3 years of college, I think gave us a lot of opportunity to really, work up more music, just kind of work up our skills, not only in music, but also, in the music business world. And yeah, just because there's so many avenues that we hadn't even thought about of things that are just very much important for being a musician in the modern world. Um, so I think we were much more ready after graduation. It just gave us time.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's so important to do a gap year these days. It's like kind of been a trend, but you don't want to make that to 2 or 3 years because then you're out of that groove. So it's good to kind of find yourselves during that and say, hey, you do have a lot of years ahead of you, so you could figure it out. So where did you both go to school as far as
Yeah,
secondary education and all that?
went to the University of Nebraska Lincoln.
Yeah, popular, the school in the state. And
We we did kind of look at out of state schools. You did more so than I did, but then we got married during that gap year that we took at school, and we were just like, this is going to be the cheapest option, and it's just the
Yeah,
safest because our family's
wouldn't
here.
wouldn't have been able to afford it, but
And it turned
yeah.
out to be a blessing because we like travel all the time for what we do.
And Nebraska's so cheap to live,
yeah.
and so Chloe and I moved. We kind of moved in together around I think we were 20, and I think with how cheap Nebraska is, it allowed us to save up a decent amount of money versus, we have friends that live in big cities and do music, and of course, they're doing what's right for them, but of course they are the cost of living is higher, so they have to have other little jobs here and there versus kind of back then, I feel like we were a bit lucky to be here because it was cheaper to live, and so we could
Mhm.
save up money a little bit easier and
Mhm.
kind of be more prepared for a life of touring after graduation.
Yeah, yeah. In these days, especially where you can record and everything, you don't have to go to New York or LA, Chicago, any of the big cities. You could really do this from just about everywhere. It's just where you're gigging, that could make the money and where you're showing up as you've learned and you've already got some time on the road. So,
Mhm.
how does it work for you guys as a couple being in this? You're not the first couple to be in the music business. How do you guys, work your time out together, get it all together? You're working and you're together personally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good question because I feel like a lot of people don't really, maybe they think about it, they just don't ask us. But I think we're just so used to working together and in this capacity of like a creative capacity. And I think we make a really good team in that way. And maybe that's why um it doesn't feel like a hard barrier for us. I mean, sometimes it's challenging when we're very busy on tour and like all we're doing is working together. But like Noah has strengths that I don't have, and the same go like vice versa. We just work really well together. Like
No.
I feel like I'm more um pessimistic about things and you're more optimistic, which is a nice balance because sometimes I'm helping you see the reality of like, oh no, we have to do something this way. But then you are like the dreamer in the team,
The,
which is very necessary.
the dreamer. Um, I think that we have both developed a very I guess we both accept criticism very well, which I think is um, something that developed just because we've been doing this. We've been doing this together for so long, and we're still sensitive individuals, but that just like I don't think has any like we're very much open to each other's ideas, and we've heard of many bands breaking up because of disagreements or being unable to take criticism, and I think that's part of the reason why we've been able to stay together for so long is because being in such a collaborative group, um, we just have to be open to criticism at all times and open to any and all ideas. And I think we've just kind of have created this system over the last 13 years or so where I think things are just easy in that regard. I think that there's no
Most of the time. Yeah.
most of the time in terms of like songwriting and whatnot, everything else is
Yeah,
pretty
and there
much
has to be
not easy.
like a level of trust in some capacity, like that we just trust each other to handle things and that we have the right ideas on certain things
Yeah.
more than like criticism. I don't really like that word that much, like with how we work together, because I don't think we're very like critical of what each other's doing, but
Yeah.
very open-minded.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
not the best.
So you figured out very early on who's doing vocals, who's doing what instruments. How did you learn all these instruments too? You got all kinds of stuff on here, violins and obviously guitar. So you figured that out quite early, it looks like. And you all seem to sing in the group too. Most of you do.
Yeah, all three of us sing. And I guess when Noah and I met, I piano was your main instrument, but you also played the guitar. And I played the guitar as well, but not as good as Noah did. But violin was my main instrument. And so that's like when we started playing together, we just were always learning songs that way. And we both liked to sing. And I wouldn't say our voices were the best voices when we were 14 years old, but we learned how to grow them together and fit them really well together. And then Andy, it's kind of unique because Andy went to high school with us and he was also in choir with us. And he's very musical and did music in college for a little bit too. So I think he's just learned really well how to fit himself into like because he's played with other bands too, how to fit himself into other bands and be like a very good support in that way. And I think that's why our voices the three of us work really well together because we've also done choir since we were in high school and just know how to work with other people in that
Yeah.
way.
And I
And
think
Andy does the upright bass, and
Yeah, yeah.
that's
And he
not
actually,
easy.
no, it's not. And I think that's really cool because he started on electric bass when he was playing with us.
from 2017 until 2022, yeah, he was playing electric bass and then
Mhm.
just switched to upright back in the summer of 2022, right?
Yeah.
And so he's but Andy, Andy has adapted so well to the upright bass, and he was very uncomfortable at first on it, but to where when he started playing, it was just for our videos that we would make here at our house.
Because the upright looked better than
Yeah,
the electric bass.
and then the videos started doing well, and we're having more people come to our shows, and people would seem often disappointed that he wasn't playing the upright bass, and so which he would play the upright then locally, just trying to get it, get his his hours in on it, but still tour with electric because the upright bass just takes up so much space. So he got this bass made by Charlie Chadwick um, a little over a year and a half ago, I think, where the neck like folds into the back of the body. And so then he was able to start taking it on tour, and I think since then, just his chops has just become. I think he's better now on upright than he was on electric, which that's saying a lot because he's great player at both. So yeah.
Great. And you're now on your fourth album. This is unbelievable. Guys are so young. So you already got a discography going here. You got a good compilation of stuff to play live as well. But this is the fourth album, Dear Meadowlark. How did this all come about and what inspired that title?
Yeah, so our the guy Ben, his name is Ben, he who's recorded all of our stuff for us since we were in high school. He recently moved to Los Angeles, and right before he knew that he was going to move, he told us and he was like, "If you guys want to do one more project with me, that would be awesome before I leave." And I mean, you had not even all the songs written yet.
I emailed him and I said I want to do a 4 song EP before you leave, Ben. And then he emailed me back and he said, he asked how many dates we want to book with him. And then like at the time I was in the midst of like writing a few other songs and I was just feeling overly optimistic maybe. And then I told him, never mind, we're gonna record an album. And then Chloe saw the email that I had sent. Said, "Did you just tell Ben that we're gonna record an album?"
Because we didn't have any songs.
We didn't have any songs.
I
The
was like,
pressure.
and it was like in a month.
No, it was like,
I think it was like a month that we had to get ready for it.
but I told her, I had the songs. I knew that we could work up the arrangements.
This is where like the optimism comes in, and I'm like, I don't know if we can do this.
These are my favorite moments, so 'cause I feel like I work best arranging like under pressure a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the excitement of it. And so, I quickly arranged. I mean, there were like 4 or 5 songs that were completely done arranging. We
Yeah,
just hadn't learned them yet,
yeah,
and so just quickly arrange and finish the rest of the other 5 or other 6, and then we got them down. We were happy with them, and then
yeah.
it was recorded over 5 days at his studio in Omaha, which he Ben Brody, and he used to be the house engineer of Studio B at ARC Recording Studio, which is the studio owned by Connor Oberst and Mike Mogus from Bright Eyed.
Yeah.
Um, and so we used to do a lot of our stuff there, but these last 2 albums we've done in Ben's studio, just at his house in his basement, just because it was a pretty small studio, but he just made such a great space. And being in a big, huge professional studio can feel quite overwhelming, and a lot of times makes me
Yeah.
feel kind of nervous. So being in a home setting just feels much more relaxing,
It
I
does,
think.
yeah. And I feel like that setting fits the music really well, because this album compared to our other ones is like a little bit more stripped down or more organic to what we do as a trio now. And all of the songs, the whole thing is kind of about it's about Nebraska. It's about our home state and just the love that we have, the love and appreciation we have for it, and how much we miss it when we're on tour. Which our album before this one that we're putting out was all about like touring and the different places that we went on the road and the people that we met, and just how awesome and exciting that was those first few years of us graduating and just getting into music full time. So this is like Dear Meadowlark. Meadowlark is the Nebraska state bird, and it's kind of just like a love letter to our home. The whole album is. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that title track. It's just, your a cappella is just like, how do you guys really rehearse that? I'm just so amazed by a cappella, how you
thanks.
have that section and you get into it like that.
That was a very last minute addition. We had recorded the whole album thinking that the second track, Sweet Niobrara, would be the opening track. And this was after we finished recording at Ben's. And um, yeah, just kind of woke up one morning and was just thinking that Sweet Niobrara was not the best opening track for the album. I was like listening through some of the rough mixes, and yeah, I don't know. I just thought, what if we do an acapella thing for it? That
And we did practice it together, like a bunch before we recorded it.
Yeah, just because we have to be much more. I mean, we're already very aware and very that's kind of our whole thing that we focus on during practices is blending of voice. Um, Trying to blend together as if we were one voice, but that is much more apparent if somebody's sticking out too much in an a cappella track. And so yeah, we practiced blending for that quite a bit and just, making sure all of our vowels were
Hmm.
fitting like the correct puzzle pieces. And we recorded that opening track here at our little home studio and then sent it off to Ben to mix since it was kind of a after the fact type of thing. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And talk about practice. It must have been a lot to do a lot of practice with the violin for Poster Child.
Yeah.
That's just very heavy on that. That must have been a real huge exercise.
Yeah, I feel like Poster Child wasn't as difficult as some of the other tracks like Dear Stranger on the album and Under the Rug. Those two were the most difficult ones for me to
Yeah.
get down just because Noah arranges a lot of like most of the string parts for everything. And we went into the studio and you hadn't even like given me the music yet for those two songs. So I was like trying to learn it as I was recording it, and it wasn't working out that day. I was like, I just need like a day for me to sit with this. So those violin parts, I think just for those two songs, we actually recorded at home and then sent the tracks over to Ben to mix them in. But Poster Child wasn't, even though it sounds very epic and big, it wasn't, that one wasn't very difficult to get down.
No, yeah, that's a fun one.
I hear a little bit more of that country-ish feel. I will follow you to Willow. So you must
Oh,
have
yeah.
had like some serious country influence as you were forming as musicians.
Yeah, I think we listened to a lot of like Willie Nelson when we were growing up. My mom and dad would always play Neil Young, which I don't know if that's considered country, but
My dad's a huge, I know I said John Prine, but he's also a huge Shania Twain fan. Grew up with a lot of Shania Twain, the
Love
Chicks.
her energy. Yeah, she's great.
Oh
yeah.
yeah, the Chicks as well, and Alan Jackson was also another
Oh yeah.
artist that was played a lot
Randy
around the house.
Travis.
Randy Travis for sure. Um, so these artists that yeah wouldn't, of course, today wouldn't really be considered modern country just because of the direction that country music has gone. But I think that was still they were still coming out, late 80s throughout the 90s, still coming out at a time with very organic feeling or seeming country music. And so yeah, I think growing up with that and just a multitude of other genres being heard. Yeah, I don't know. I think we pull influences from all sorts of places, but I think country has definitely worked its
Yeah.
way in a little bit.
And it's about Willow, a community in Nebraska. That's do you have a lot of memories with that community?
Not at all. I think I just the original kind of, it was more like uh, let me try to gather my thoughts here. So Willow I just had seen a sign for Willow
Uh,
on, on the side of the road when we were driving, and I didn't know that there was a Willow, Nebraska, and I really like that name, Willow. I think that's just a beautiful word. And so I wrote it down, and I had this I will follow you. Da, 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 da. I just had this melody for a long time for that song, and yeah, it just had fit. And so, but I think it still works because it's less like I'm following you to a place and more like I'll follow you wherever you go. you know? And so, yeah, I don't know.
so just like a total random inspiration. You're on the road, you're in Dawson County, just looking around. I was like, oh yeah, there's a song. It's just funny how that hits you. So like with a lot of artists, do you go old school, start writing down ideas, or getting into the old Droid or your Apple and just decide, hey, I'm gonna just write this down and save it for later, put it in my pocket.
You do
That's
that a lot,
that's
actually.
that's like how most of our songs get written is starting with lyrics on my notes app on my phone.
But it's not even full lyrics. Sometimes it's just little ideas like that, like little
Yeah.
phrases that you hear. And when Noah's writing, it's a lot of the time you do have like the melody that comes first before the lyrics, even though I know you don't, you say it's harder to write it that way, but I hear him writing songs and he's like mumbling just words, and eventually they morph into actual words that mean a lot. And Willow is one of those songs in particular because it's a love song. It's like very intense sounding, so a lot of people wouldn't think of it, I guess, at first listen that it's that kind of a song. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's beautiful how just like that one word that you saw on a random sign turned into like I'll follow you through like wherever you go throughout whatever you're going through, I'm always going to be here for you.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it fit, I think, because I'd written the verses when we were in Savannah, Georgia, where, there are all these willow trees.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
Spanish
Chockfull.
Yeah, everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think just driving in Nebraska and seeing the sign for willow, I was, like, oh, you know,
Yeah. You guys get around. I didn't know you came all this way. I'm in Georgia as well. I'm in the Atlanta area. So
yeah.
you must go coast to coast, it sounds like.
Oh yeah, yeah. Quite often we've made it down to Georgia. So
Yeah, we're
yeah,
actually playing in Atlanta um coming up. I think it's in June sometime.
yeah,
Okay. Of 2025. So should this go into the time capsule, June of 2025,
Oh,
come
yeah.
to the Atlanta area. Hope
Yeah.
to maybe check you out. And it should be hopefully a great. How is it in the live shows? Do you get these great responses? Is it very, what kind of venues do you play?
yeah. So
It's like small theaters and listening
yeah,
rooms.
it's been a slow climb for us, just because we started touring in 2016. During all of our breaks that we would have from school and whatnot. But then 2021, we started touring pretty much full time. Being out for 2, 3, 4 weeks and then coming back for a week or two. That's just kind of been the cycle since 2021. Um, and for a while, it was a slow burn where we weren't playing any ticketed shows. And over the last year has been kind of our start of, or maybe last 2 years has been our
Well,
start of.
we started playing ticketed shows like in 2021 when we graduated school. But it was different then because touring right after COVID like was a huge thing, was very weird. Like at first when we went on the road, our shows were great and people were coming out and like finally it felt like we could play a real show again. But then halfway through that, COVID started to get bad again. So we went home and we were like, we need to refigure this out.
But through the majority of kind of that first phase of touring, we were doing like 3, 4 hour brewery gigs most of the time, which
Mm.
Yeah.
breweries are great. I love breweries, but brewery gigs every night is not the
We don't ever really do gigs like that anymore unless we like do something locally for fun. Um,
Yeah.
But like the people now, we've been able to sell more tickets and have really good crowds come out to our
yeah,
shows because of social media, which like it's a love-hate relationship because sometimes I feel like we're slaves to the algorithm and just like constantly trying to put out information to people, just saying like, "Hey, come to our shows. Hey, listen to this song." But it also is a beautiful thing because thousands of people that we would have never been able to reach just by touring have found our music and now they come out to our shows and really
yeah.
appreciate what we're trying to do.
We had a few exciting moments on this last month-long tour that we just got back from, where we had just a couple um, breaking record breaking of our own record ticket sales. I think we had like 200 in San Francisco, which was, we'd never had that much outside of Nebraska. And then
Mm.
we did like 300 people in Phoenix, Arizona, which was very exciting. And we kind of go through these stretches where, it feels like there's no like uptick in if we're getting our name out there, but then there's little strides happen, and it feels very very inspiring and exciting, and kind of you know keeps us going, I guess.
Yeah.
So
They always say that live music, doing it live, is where it's lucrative as far as your business goes. But like you making anything off of streaming or royalties, how does that all work out for you as a band too? Because do you all split royalties? How does that all work?
Right now, we don't, just because we don't make like very much at all from streams, and that's our goal this year is to try to grow that more. Obviously, it all kind of ties in together because the more that people are streaming our music, the more people will actually come out to a live show as well. So, yeah, that's kind of like been a battle for us trying to just make more money from that because that would be very helpful for us to not have to tour so much. And then like we've been trying to also get into sync licensing to like get our music placed in films and TV shows because that would just be some nice extra money that's just passive income.
Mhm.
Yeah, that would be nice. When you're talking about like incidental music and film, TV, all those kind of productions, that would be amazing. But yeah, I know it's tough with the streaming. Gosh, the streamers barely they can get out there, but like it seems like anybody could do that these days. So it's tough to really try to stand out and all that.
It is.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Luckily, our numbers seem to be going up, and just because our biggest platforms over the last couple of years have been Instagram and TikTok. And there's
Mm.
always the thing about Spotify, paying a fraction of a penny, which is terrible. But we don't make any kind of money at all from social media, from our views and stuff on there, um, which to me is much more unfortunate than how much Spotify pays. Um, but so, we've kind of tried to shift our focus a little bit. Not that it's all about the money, but we're trying to, yeah, I guess just to focus in on, I guess, different platforms a little bit more this year. So,
And that's
yeah.
where like I feel like being a musician feels like work is obviously we do it because we love making music and we love the effect that our music has for so many people. But there's a lot of hard work and thought that has to go into doing this so that we're able to live and make a comfortable living.
Mhm.
And how do you get around when you go gig to gig? Or is it planes, trains, automobiles?
Oh
Yeah.
boy, we've had let's see, four different vehicles that we've toured in. We had this old gray Chevy van, or no, Ford van, right? The big gray one.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, that was
it
like a
was
van from the 90s.
it worked well. The air conditioning stopped working,
Oh
and
gosh.
during the summer it became impossible with that. And instead of getting it fixed, we and that was when we would tour with multiple people in our band throughout college. But then after graduating college, or a little bit before, Chloe and I were driving, I think, with your mom around on Black Friday, and we came upon this little used car dealership that had this like 28-foot long, um, or no,
RV.
like 22 feet long,
Yeah,
right?
it was a
It's small.
small like mobile home.
And so it just looked like the perfect size. I didn't think I'd ever seen like an RV that small before. And so we went inside, and we checked it out, and it had a lot of water damage on it and was just in rough shape, but it was cheap enough and had low enough miles that we bought it. And it had quite a few issues. It's been pretty reliable. It still runs. Um,
We don't tour in that anymore.
no,
We like renovated the inside, and so we toured in that. And the three of us were sleeping in it every night, which was very nice because we could park anywhere and didn't have to pay for hotel rooms.
yeah.
But then recently, well, I guess before we have it like a new van now, which thank the Lord. It's really nice to tour in a reliable vehicle like
Because we
that.
were
But we were stuffed in between the RV and then having our van. We had a small SUV that we would pack everything into, and we had a little basket on the back, and there was barely enough room for Andy in the back seat to sit.
Andy was cramped with his upright bass.
Talk about, yeah, sleeping with your instrument there.
That
Oh my
was
gosh.
that was a bad phase. But then, yeah, we just got a Ford short roof Ford Transit van um, over the summer. That has just been ah game changer, lifesaver. So
And you have
yeah.
drums as well. You cart that along. That's Harrison on drums, and you also have the cello with you on the road too.
So the when we tour, it's just Chloe and I and Andy. So it's just the three of us. we'd like to have Harrison join us on drums for a tour, someday soon. But over since 2021 or 2022, yeah, it's just been the three of us touring kind of as the core Wildwoods. Harry's involved in a lot of other projects and goes on cruises as well to play in cruise bands. And so, being living in Nebraska, there's like only a few really good drummers for, 100 bands or whatever. And so all the good drummers are very, very busy with lots of different projects. And so, but yeah, hopefully we can snatch Harry up sometime soon to go on a tour with us because I think that'd be a lot of fun. Because a lot of the venues that we still play, are fairly, not the biggest places that maybe drums, aren't the best thing at the moment to have in our live show. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry
And
for
you're all,
that.
yeah, that's fantastic. You're all over YouTube. You got some nice videos out there somewhere in the snow. Yeah, that's just really an interesting music video as well, done in a church.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. We did that this past winter actually.
Yeah.
The microphone company, the mic that we were using in that video, the company had sent us that mic and we've been using it and we love it for like a couple years now. But they asked if we could make like a Christmas video so they could post it on their social media. And that's like our only original Christmas song. So we're like, why don't we just do this one? And that church is beautiful and they let us use it all the time. We could just go in there and make videos and we hosted a concert in there one time too. And there's also a really cute animated video to go along with that song. I don't know if you've seen that
I don't think
yet,
I've seen.
but Noah did an animation for it. It's like the Peanuts characters, like Charlie Brown, and it's super cute.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, well, hopefully, yeah, and best wishes to all of you and all your endeavors as you go forward. A great new album, Dear Meadowlark.
Thank
Get it
you.
wherever you get music. And you can get it through the website and you've got merch on where's your website?
It's the wildwoodsband.com, but the album won't be out until April 11th.
Mhm.
So I think we're gonna get like a pre-order link up soon for CD.
Yeah, I'd like to get this out before April as we're speaking here in late February of 2025. So yeah, definitely if you can do a pre-order, it'll be available physically as well.
Yes,
Mhm.
uh-huh,
Via vinyl record and
and
CD.
CD.
So
Excellent, excellent. And the song Postcards from Somewhere, is that included or is that just a bonus track on certain versions of this?
it'll be on the vinyl and CD as well as streaming. That was a single that we released that we recorded here at home over the summer that wasn't supposed to be part of the album, but Chloe just kind of overruled that and decided that it
I
would be.
love that song.
It's
And
going on there.
yeah. And you know what? I just listened to the test pressing of the vinyl yesterday, and that song is the last one on the vinyl, and I think it was a perfect choice for that. So,
Yeah.
You win. That's it. Well,
I,
best wishes. I hope to see you here in June as we're speaking now. And best of luck and stay safe on the road. It's crazy out there as it always is.
yeah.
And best wishes, definitely.
Thank
thanks so
you.
much. Thanks for taking the time
Yeah.
to chat.
Absolutely. Take
Yeah.
care. Have a good one.
Yeah,
Take
you
care.
too.
Bye
Thanks,
bye.
Rob.
Hey, thanks for joining me here. I had a great discussion with them and hope to see and hear from y'all soon. Take care.